Louisiana Free Patriot here once again. Good evening. Sitting here, I've heard for the last day or so about this memorandum from the Justice Department. So I just ran across members of Congress questioning about this. So I decided to look it up. And it's titled Justice Department Addresses Violent Threats Against School Officials and Teachers. Citing an increase in harassment, intimidation, and threats of violence against school board members, teachers, and workers in our nation's public schools, today's Attorney General, Mark B. Garland, directed the FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office to meet in the next 30 days with federal, state, tribal, territorial, and local law enforcement leaders to discuss strategies for addressing this disturbing trend. These sessions will open dedicated lines of communication for threat reporting, assessment, and response by law enforcement. Threats against public servants are not only illegal, they run counter to our nation's core values, wrote Attorney General Garland. Now, think back when Trump was in office, after he won his elections. How many celebrities threatened to kill him? That said they wanted to kill him. Posted memes and pictures of them holding his severed head. How many threats of violence did Donald Trump have? How many threats of violence, and had actual physical threats of mobs of people trying to get at Republican lawmakers with no consequences? What? But nothing then. But now they say threats against public servants are not only illegal, they run counter to our nation's core values. Oh, it's only goes against your core values when it's against your guys. When it's against your side. So, what you did to our patriots, to people who are standing up and abiding by the oath they took to defend and uphold the Constitution, when they're harassed and threatened, it's not illegal. You can suck my left, you know what. These school board members, they need to realize they work for us. We entrust them with the safety and the teaching of our children, not to indoctrinate them, not to take our children and make them hate themselves and cause them to have more problems. We want their schools to be safe areas, not areas where blacks are mad at whites and whites are mad at blacks and Hispanics and Asians and everybody else, because we're all either oppressors or oppressed, which is BS. That might have been right 50, 60 years ago. Hell, in 1990s, early 90s, when I was in school, we had less racism with freaking I hate when I forget people's names. We had less racism in the early 90s in Louisiana than we have now in the northern states. And we still don't have the amount of racism you seem to have in Chicago, New York, California, all these big northern cities. Down here, we don't have it like you say we do. from up north, and you haven't got a clue. David Duke, that was his name. When David Duke was running for governor of Louisiana, we had less racism then in the South than you have right now up north. With all this Antifa BS, with all these people trying to force socialism on us and divide the people even more. Hell, we've been fighting so long to come together as one nation, as Americans, not African Americans, not Hispanic American, Mexican American, Asian American, Italian American, Irish American, none of that. We've been fighting to come together as Americans, as one people. And you saw us coming. You saw what we were doing. So y'all had to put this in here to put a stop to it. Nah, that ain't right. According to the Attorney General's memorandum, the Justice Department will launch a series of additional efforts in the coming days designed to address the rise in criminal conduct directed toward school personnel. Those efforts are expected to include the creation of a task force consisting of representatives from the department's Criminal Justice, National Security Division, Civil Rights Division, the Executive Office for the U.S. Attorneys, the FBI, the Community Relations Service, and the Office of Justice Programs to determine how federal enforcement tools can be used to prosecute those crimes and ways to assist state, tribal, territorial, and local law enforcement with threats of violence may not constitute federal crimes. Going to a school board meeting and telling your school board members not to teach this crap to our children, not to indoctrinate our children, that's not threats. I have not seen one video yet so far where parents have actually threatened them. They have given warnings, but they have not actually given a direct threat. Very much like what I'm fixing to say here. You keep pushing these parents. You keep pushing the American people. You keep trying to put us underneath your putting us under your thumb or underneath your boot heels. We're going to take your arm or your leg off. We are free people. We are not servants. And there are millions like me. Because we will die on our feet before we live on our knees. And we will not bend our knees. And when they see us, other parts of the population, and they see we're not giving up, that we are fighting this fight, and that what we're fighting for is honorable and in the best interest of our nation, those that have bent their knees, many will stand up and they'll join the fight. We want this to end with no violence. We don't want to hurt anyone. See, y'all took Democrats, government officials. You always thought the American people, the right, not the far right, the middle of the line right, the average American working person, man and woman, husband and wife, American family, children. We've always sat back and you've pushed us and we've taken it for generations. And so you've taken more and more and more. And you've pushed us down. Well, we're going to be standing up. And that's what they're doing. You're not liking it. Bullies don't like it when they get pushed back. My dad taught me never run from a fight. If you're going to take the butt whooping, you take it like a man. But you take as many as you can with you. If I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down fighting. And I don't like violence. I have worked many, many years to be positive, to live an example that peace can find its way. I have talked people out of violent acts. I have talked people out of suicide. I've helped turn people's lives around, keep them from doing stupid stuff because they were too caught up in their emotions. And I continue to do that now because it is not in the best interest of our nation or in these people's lives. The detriment would be worse for them in whatever their situation is. And in some cases, it would be worse for our nation because it would set back what we fight for. But there is going to come a time when those that are like me, who seek peace through acts of nonviolence, will reach our limit too. And when people like me are no longer holding those reins back on those others, where are you going to run? Where are you going to hide? The American people do not want this. We want our lives. We want our freedoms. And we will not tolerate a dictatorship and a totalitarian government. Law enforcement with threats of violence may not constitute federal crimes. No, it's not a federal crime. And local law enforcement, FBI, should not be getting involved in this because it's a local, state matter, or a parish or a county matter, maybe even a state matter, but not federal. This is an attempt to scare parents from going to these meetings. Any parent that sees this and they go to their meetings, I want to know if you get a visit by the FBI. I want to know if they do to you what they've done to me, come questioning you over lies and bull crap. I want to know. Because they're threatening. Because they're scared of what we can do. So they're going to try to use their force to keep the American people down and use fear tactics. And, oh, you do, I can't go because I don't want to be labeled as a domestic terrorist. I don't want to be investigated by the FBI. I don't want them. That's what they want. They want to scare you. You're doing the right thing. And government should be scared of the American people because they get their power from us. Government, by the people, for the people, of the people, or something like that. I forgot how order it went in. But in general, they get their power from us. We hold the power. We are the government. We just let them do the paperwork. That's the wonderful thing about a republic. We're not a democracy. We're a democratic republic. Because if we were a democracy, California and New York would run this entire country. We use democratic procedures with a republic framework to keep the Democrat side in check. And the Republicans and the Democrat side keeps the Republic side in check. So they balance. The Justice Department will also create specialized training and guidance for local school boards and school administrators. This training will help school board members and other potential victims understand the type of behavior that constitutes threats, how to report threatening conduct to the appropriate law enforcement agencies, and how to capture and preserve evidence of threatening conduct to aid in the investigation and prosecution of these crimes. All these damn meetings are recorded. And what constitutes as a threat? A parent that says, I'm going to be at every one of these meetings questioning you about it, that I'm not going to let you rest, and I'm going to be here bugging the crap out of you till you listen to me and take this crap out of the schools. That's a threat? No. That is the heart of America. Threats of violence against school board members, officials, and workers in our nation's public schools can be reported by the public to the FBI's National Threat Operations Center via its national tip line, 1-800-CALL-FBI, and online through the FBI website. To ensure that threats are communicated to the appropriate authorities, NTOC will communicate to the will direct credible threats to the FBI field offices for coordination with the U.S. Attorney's Office and law enforcement partners as appropriate. So instead of the police dealing with it, going to the local police, to the state police, to the FBI, they're going backwards now. They're using the full might of, a large portion of the might of the federal government to scare us. Hitler did the same thing. Stalin did the same thing. They used the might of their military and of their police to put fear into the people, to hold them down from rebellion. It's just burns me. And that's from the Justice News, United States Department of Justice, Monday, October 4th, 2021. Don't give up the fight, parents, patriots. You're doing the right thing. Trust your heart Protect your children. And let us stand together. We can change this country back to the way it's supposed to be. This is Louisiana Free Patriot. Good night. And God bless each and every one of you. And as one of my favorite radio hosts has to say, it's already been popped, but I pop a top to every one of you that are standing and defending for your children, defending their lives, their education, and making sure that their core values are taught in the way that you see fit as parents. Core values not supposed to be taught at school. School's meant to teach mathematics, science, history. Core values, that's mom and dad's job, not the school. Good night. God bless. Y'all sleep well. God bless the United States of America. And I forget which founding father it was. The United States is not a democracy. It's a republic, if we can keep it. Good night, y'all.